to the esophageal situation and the graft itself. I mean, clearly he was, not completely well given everything that he had been through, and maybe that might have made him more susceptible to that, but he had an event that led to his demise that we did not think was directly related to what he went through.
Yeah, and we've seen some, because there are some publications from the company about the patient. I think it's some very interesting and results. So you think, without the biostage product, the how the patients will be treated, and will he be able to live that long, you think, or it could be much worse?
Hard to say. I think the big question is, could we have even done what we did without the biostage product, independent of, how long he lived or anything like that? I mean, just the technical aspects of doing that resection and reconstruction without having that technology to put his esophagus together again, he would have otherwise basically been rendered with what we call a stiff fistula or a defunctioned esophagus, where we basically would have just cut it out, put a feeding tube in, brought his esophagus out up on his chest wall or his neck, and he never would have eaten normally again.
Mm-hmm. And how soon that after the surgery, to put the biostage product, did the patient start to can he eat normally after the operation?
Well, in this situation, because it was really our first such approach, we actually put drainage tubes into the stomach, and we actually used a feeding tube because we didn't really know how soon we could safely do that. In pigs, in the animal lab, we're pretty aggressive about getting them on a liquid diet pretty quickly, like right away, basically the first day after surgery, and that seems to be successful. But because of all the concern here in the patient situation about whether we could do that safely or not, we basically didn't let him eat.
So, but I think in the pigs, we see that they don't survive on liquid food, right? They can eat normally after a certain period of time. Is that
yes,
right?
Correct. It's a little bit harder for them to eat when they still have the stent in place, just because tolerating a completely solid diet sometimes is challenging. But certainly once the stent is removed and the graft is removed and they've really formed a new tube, they basically eat normally. We've seen that. Many of the groups that Biostage has worked with, have all independently seen that as an observation.
I see. So biologically, this is a very, you think it's, take away all these different, stem cell technologies and everything, but from the biological and the medical point of view, you think, this is it's not like something that is unthinkable. Is that right? Well, what I'm trying to say is that, with the right technology in place, it is something that we could have accomplished.
Oh, yes. I mean, you can quibble about technical details and underlying biologic mechanisms and all this other stuff, but this technology is the real deal. In my lifetime, we will be clinically applying technology like this to esophageal diseases. I am 100% confident of that. What I don't know is just exactly what are the best niches where this makes sense compared to existing alternative approaches. Where is this better? Where is it equivalent? Where is it maybe not as good? But I have no doubt in my mind that we will be using a technology like this as part of standard clinical care.
But in fact, it is the technology is evolving very quickly, right? I was reading yesterday about a company that doing a clinical trial in MD Anderson that they use the stem cell technology to I can't remember what organ they're trying to repair. I can't remember. No, it's they're trying to repair. They're trying to use stem cell technology to treat dementia. I think Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a completely different area than what I work in. But if you look at the whole spectrum of what's happening in regenerative medicine overall, I mean, for example, here at Mayo Clinic, it's one of the major innovation thrusts within the institution to try and figure out, what diseases, what clinical scenarios can we really best apply regenerative approaches in order to be able to do things that historically we had not been able to do, and potentially even treat or cure diseases that up until now have not really had any existing treatment approaches.
Yeah. So do your practice, and so have you seen anything that's similar or like the product of BioStage so far?
For the esophagus, like right now, BioStage is really the only game in town, and obviously we have worked with them fairly extensively. So there isn't really a competing product that I'm aware of, anyways, in the market space. In terms of the concept of using some kind of biologic matrix, either with or without stem cells or other products coated onto it, and the capability to use that kind of approach in order to seal holes in the body. There certainly are some other approaches and other organ systems that people are using, but for the esophagus, really, BioStage is really the main game in town.
Great. So that's good to hear. So, and also do you think, Dr. Weigel, for FDA to look at the data so far collected, from both animal trial as well as animal tests as well as the emergency IND, do you think that's going to shed a favorable light on the technology in the minds of FDA? Therefore, they have ground to give it a go ahead.
I think so. I mean, unfortunately, dealing with the FDA, just when you think you've done enough, it always seems to be they want more. But I'm not sure. It's not like there's only been 3 pigs or 5 pigs or 10 pigs or something done. I mean, there's so many between what's been done through BioStage and others that I'm not sure how much more. We're going to learn more maybe about biologic mechanisms and some other scientific details, but in terms of just the plain fact of this working and being something that we can apply clinically, there is more than enough animal data already to not just suggest that, but to clearly demonstrate that.
Right, that's what we think too, because we look at all the animal data and there's all these different aspects of the analysis, and it's a very extensive work. And also, you involved in the future of the clinical trials as well, right? If let's say FDA gives the approval of go ahead, and you'll be a PI as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had a great relationship with BioStage right from square one, and I don't see any reason why that would change. And clearly having some key people who are interested in this technology and willing to apply it, it's going to take some like-minded surgeons and scientists to really step up and do some of the early patient work and early trials to really clearly demonstrate that this works.
That's great. So, I've been to many hospitals. I've been to, and as a visitor, of course, I've been to MGH. I've been to, MD Anderson. We used to go there like every quarter or so, for the Proton Center's board meeting. And I've been to visited many medical centers on the West Coast. For instance, Mayo, Cedar Falls, et cetera, but never been to Mayo. But anybody who's been there always, they always show it off on their social media. So I hope that I have the chance of visiting Mayo, and obviously and visiting you. So
yes,
and
you should come visit us.
Absolutely, I will definitely put that keep that in mind for my next trip. So have you ever been to this part of the world as well?
I visited China a number of times actually. I've been in Beijing. And what's the main city in Guangdong province? I'm blanking on it, but I've been there also as part of a research collaboration. Sorry?
Guangzhou? Canton?
No, isn't it? Is it Zhengzhou or Zhengzhou?
In Canton, they have a Sanyao Cancer Hospital, and that's one of the largest cancer hospitals in China. Probably that might be one of your collaborators.
It could be. The amazing thing about China is just everything dwarfs us in terms of scale. I remember going to the Beijing Cancer Hospital, and they're telling us about how many patient visits they have a year and so on. And Mayo Clinic Cancer Center across all three sites sees somewhere around 30 to 35,000 patients a year. And the guys at the Beijing Cancer Center told me that they see over 300,000 clinic visits a year, and it's literally 10 times bigger.
Right. Because anybody wants to go to the best hospital, and they're all in the big cities. So we call them the tertiary hospitals. They're always very, very, very crowded and busy. You'll be lucky to get ahead. Yeah. And also, my last question, in fact, reminds me of do you think insurance will be able, we can convince the insurance company or Medicare to cover this product, you think? And what would be the right, I know it might be not your strength, but, what do you think is appropriate price, in terms of value, let's say?
Wow. I have to be honest, I haven't really committed a ton of thought to that, other than the confidence that if you had a device and you had a product that would save the patient for undergoing, a very difficult, aggressive, radical operation and everything it took to bring that patient through that, if you had something that could replace that would clearly add value. But I have to be honest, I haven't really thought numbers in terms of what that means in terms of price points and things like that. I have no idea.
I understand. But, insurance coverage will be pretty straightforward, right? From what I think, from what my understanding of how insurance works in the U.S.
Yeah, I always hesitate using the word straightforward, but I don't think. Again, here, any time that you have a replacing technology, so something that comes forward that allows you to do a better job or do the same job in a less invasive manner. Look at what's happened with robotic technology and all these other things that have happened in surgery. We'll be able to put an esophageal graft in somebody a lot cheaper than buying a surgical robot. That's for sure, and that hasn't been an impediment to the adoption of robotic technology at all.
Yes, all right, Dr. Weigel, I think, we've been very, very fortunate to have you talking to us. And let me ask my team, if they have any questions.
Hi, Dr. Wiggers. I have a small question. Do you think the BioStage product will actually overcome all the problems that exist in current treatment? For the current treatment, it is end-to-end speech.
Yeah. So no, I think it is important to remember here that there's going to be tumors way at the very advanced end of the spectrum where you really do have to take the whole esophagus out. I don't think that's going away. And there's also going to be tumors at the very earliest stage where clearly, endoscopic mucosal resections or even ESD for T1A lesions is a very appropriate treatment, and I don't necessarily see this technology replacing that. The advantage of the technology, though, is that there's a huge group of patients in between those two ends of the spectrum where there really might be a role for the technology, such that even if it doesn't supply a treatment approach across the whole end-to-end spectrum all the stages of esophageal cancer, you're still talking about a very, very large patient niche, especially in a country like China with their disease incidence.
Okay, so you mean for those patients appropriate for bio stage product is that between the early stage and the late stage, right? Those part of it.
I think so. I mean, again, I think those are some of the studies and why it's so important, to be doing, well-designed clinical trials with this in order to really try and understand that. But I think that would be the concept here, that filling that void between a very radical esophagectomy and then endoscopic therapy at the other end, so that there's an alternative there for people that maybe don't have a treatment option between those two, would be where this technology would sit.
Oh, okay, I see. Got you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Dr. Michael, really appreciate your time, and I know that you always have a very, very busy schedule. So you also have a teaching job at the Mayo as well, right?
Yes, I do. I mean, we are an academic institution, even though it's attached with a large practice. So yes, it's basically an academic job.
Right. So I really appreciate you take time off at the end of the day to talk to us, and we look forward to meeting you soon, either in Rochester or somewhere in China. You're always welcome to visit us, and during the next tour in Asia, please let us know, and we'll be very happy to host you during the next trip.
Well, thank you. That would be very exciting, and it's great to get a chance to meet everyone and talk about what's a really, really interesting piece of technology.
Absolutely. We think that this technology can really help a lot of patients, both in China and in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. Thank you very much. All right, Jim. Really.
Thank you.
Okay.
Together. All right. Thank you very much.